Greetings, salutations, and welcome to SportsLook, the sports television program for the high plains of West Texas and eastern New Mexico. I'm your host, Doc Elder, and at the end of the program, I'm going to ask Orran, you glad you watched this show? Because we're going to have Orran Hart from Greyhound Rodeo. Okay, that was pretty terrible, so I'll redeem myself by saying we're also going to have Amanda Fefel from Greyhound Softball. I'll finish up with an overtime, but as always, I'll start out with an Eastern recap. Tough weekend for Greyhound baseball. They were playing against Angelo State. Angelo State put a lot of runs on the board. The Greyhounds lose all 4 games. Greyhound Track and Field hosted their own meet on Saturday, and for the Greyhound guys, they had 3 individual champs at that meet. Really good weekend for Greyhound Rodeo. We'll talk more about that just in a minute. Well, that has been your Eastern recap, so what we'll do is we'll clear the set, and I'm going to bring in Amanda Fefel right now. Welcome back to SportsLook, and a privilege to bring back to the set of SportsLook the head coach, Greyhound Softball, Amanda Fefel. And Coach, a lot of close ball games for your ladies this year.
Yeah, I mean, we're losing things in the late innings, 1-2 runs here and there, and I think it's just going to boil down to a lack of experience right now with our youth.
Yeah, we all knew going into the season that there were some big shoes to fill, and that leadership, you can't just recruit it. It has to be developed on the field.
Yeah, so 7 of 9 starters. I think we talked about this before. 11 freshmen, 3 transfers. Had 2 crucial injuries beginning of the semester. Probably a starting catcher and a starting shortstop. Both tore ACLs and an MPFL, and so just rehabbing them back to where we need them to be. But 2 crucial parts lost at the beginning of the season.
So out of the players that came back from last year, who were your proven leaders that you could count on?
Yeah, so I think right now, Marissa Rodriguez has really stepped up in the circle for us. I think just that senior leadership from our righty right now has been huge. I think last year, her and Miranda were pulling a lot of the ranks, eating a lot of innings. I think she's up there, 80, 90 innings right now in the season. But her and Miranda out of the circle, definitely we knew were 2 that we were looking forward to come back. The next one's Christina Meneses from the left side of the plate. I think she's hitting like 430, 440 right now, still just killing it at the plate. So I think just that experience with her, Miranda, Marissa, have been extremely important to the dynamic of our team right now.
I think it's interesting, if you look at your record in Lone Star Conference play, you're a little bit better than 500, but if you look at Marissa's record in the circle, she's 8-2, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she is. She's getting a lot of the wins right now, and I think she's also come into the game as a relief out of bullpen. Close ball games, and was able to kind of hold it down from 4th, 5th inning on, and ended up getting the win for our bats to come around. So she's been in both a starting role, a relief role, and obviously kind of a closer role for us all within 1 year. So I've been very happy with how Marissa's going to be ending her career.
In what ways is she still the same pitcher that she was when you recruited her? In which ways has her craft improved over the years?
Yeah, I think going from her freshman year to now, Marissa has always had that dog in her. Like she wants the ball, she wants to be out there in the circle, and I think that was one of the things when we recruited her. She wanted to be the one that the team relied on in the circle. When it comes down to what has she got better at, I think just her composure from her freshman year till now. I think with our Lone Star Conference hitters, I think she's learned to work the batters a little bit more. She's not just out there throwing. She has more command of the zone and what she can get away with, what she can expand. So I think just growth in how she throws to batters and sets up. And we look at video and we do scouting reports and we talk about batters in between innings. And I think just wanting that information has really improved.
Obviously, over the years, you've had great success recruiting young ladies from California. Is it just that you have good connections out there, or is the quality of the softball just a little bit better because of the climate, or why is California such a fertile recruiting ground for you?
Yeah, I think it's kind of a little bit of everything. I think Shanna and I have really developed within that region, no matter where we've been at. And so yes to having connections out that way, but also trying to avoid a lot of the Lone Star Conference down in the Texas area. You know, a lot of Texas kids don't really want to come this way when it comes to softball. They'd rather stay within their home state where mom and dad can see them. And so I think it's important for us to draw those kids that want to get away from home, that high caliber IQ, to New Mexico for us. And so I think it's been important for us to go and get a kid, but it hasn't been just California recently. Obviously, we have a couple kids coming from, you know, Idaho, Utah, Washington, places of that nature. So a lot of West Coast, I would say, has been kind of the stomping grounds for us recently.
And interestingly, in your starting lineup this weekend, I don't know this for a fact because I got a chance to actually broadcast both of your games, 3 young ladies in the starting lineup from Arizona and 2 of them from Tucson.
Yeah, so same thing. Arizona has been a big place too. There's no Division II in Arizona, so I think for those young ladies to want to come out this way and play softball, I think has been very important as well. But yeah, wherever they are, and if we need them, we're going to go get them.
In a couple of weeks, it'll be time for professors to issue grades to students for their performance in the classroom. So if you looked at the aspects of softball, defense, offense, pitching, what aspect grades out the highest?
I think that's hard to really give a grade right now across the board, because I think there are games where our bats really excel, and I think there's times where our pitching staff really excels, and then there's times where our base running, and then our small ball, and then our defense. So I think we're kind of all over the page, but when we put it all together, we're A+. But right now we're struggling in little areas, and there's little parts of our game that we need to put together just so that we do finish strong. And I think that's been one of the key words for us this year, is to finish. We've been beating a lot of our teams. If you go back and look at the box score, we're winning 3-4 in the early innings, and then we lose it in the 5th, 6th inning. And so that's where we really need to be a little bit more focused in, is from the fifth inning on, like, we need to lock in. And I think that's where you talk about sliding scale of what's improving, what's better. I don't think I can give a straight grade across the board, because at any given game, things are just fluctuating across the board.
Interestingly, in your first game on Sunday, you didn't need to go into a 6th inning because you had the 10-run rule victory. So you're hitting against a girl that came in, I think her earned run average was 2.86, and she had already given up more than that, and she didn't have an out in the 2nd inning. So when your bats are on, like you said, your bats are pretty formidable.
Yeah, and I think we were very impressed. I think they went through 4 pitchers within that first game. I think we ended up winning that 13-1. And so for us, I think that was the way we know we can hit, and the way we can pass the bat and string hits together. I think crucial hitting for us is when we do have runners in 2nd and 3rd. I think we kind of panic a little bit. Several times in that game we had bases loaded. One hit here or there would have blew it open even more. But yeah, I think that is the way that I know the lineup can hit. Second game, again, went in at 3-4-0, and then had one bad inning in the 5th inning, and kind of just spiraled from there for us. But still a competitive game, 6-4, or 5-6, I think it was. Tina ended up hitting a 7th inning home run for us to push us a little bit closer. But yeah.
And interestingly, in that game, there was a situation where you had the lead and you had the bases loaded with nobody out, and you did get 1 right out of that situation, but you'd hope a situation like that you get 2 or 3.
Yeah, and I think that goes back to, too, not wanting to kind of be the hero in that moment, and just kind of string a hit or 2 together, draw a walk. I mean, do whatever it takes to get on base. But I think we rolled into a pop-up and a ground ball, and then we ended up drawing a crucial walk from Haley Pierce. And so then I think from there we ended up swinging first pitch on 1 and got out on the 3rd out. So yeah, I think it's just knowing the situation, putting more pressure on their pitcher and their defense, and making things happen a little bit better is what we need to work on too.
Obviously, there were going to be a lot of young ladies, like we said, that got pressed into service this year. Who's been the most pleasant surprise? Who was the girl that in the fall was just like, yeah, nice to have her on the team, and she might get some occasional playing time, and she's become a starter for you?
I would have to say Giazza Lopez. Giazza originally came here, 6'1" lefty as a pitcher. have gotten minimal innings this year, but I think down the stretch here, she has thrown a lot of quality innings for us, coming in relief for a couple of pitchers late in the game, getting some routine ground balls. I mean, she's one of those pitchers that I know if we need a ground ball, we don't need the ball lifted. I mean, she's the one I'm going to. But more shockingly, I knew she could hit, but I didn't know she would hit this well in the conference. And so she's really stepped up for us, buffering a little bit behind Tina so they can't just walk Tina and have her there. I think she's really played a crucial role, obviously, in that aspect. I know her and Marissa were going back and forth for our DP slot there, but I think Giazza pretty much won it down the stretch.
Yeah, and interestingly, she's a left-hander, and you might think, well, it doesn't really matter. Yeah, it really does matter, because if you're not used to seeing left-handers, it's a different look at the plate for opposing hitters.
Spin's funky on her ball. It definitely is. Cuts a little bit different spin rotation to the ball for sure. But she's been a pleasant, whether it's in the circle or at the plate, she's finding ways to get the job done.
Let's talk a little bit about your young ladies in terms of academics. I know that we really put emphasis on performance in the classroom, and softball always near the top of all the sports in terms of GPA.
No, I think they really prioritize, especially on the road with how much we do travel in the Lone Star. We do team study hall on Tuesday, Thursday, and then obviously when we're on the road, we'll do it on the bus or after dinner, or sometime we always somehow incorporate it into our itinerary just so that the girls are still focusing on their academics. I think they've done a great job of communicating with their professors when they're leaving, when they can get things done. So I think it's just about being proactive, and I think they've done a great job this season.
Well, I can attest to that, because one of your players, one of your starters, is actually one of my students, and she's never missed a deadline yet. So kudos to you and your assistant coach. Well, let's talk a little bit about the seasons that's left. What are you playing for in what's left of the 2026 season?
Yeah, I think losing one to UT Dallas last week kind of put us out of the shuffle for playoffs. And so right now, I think it's just our growth, to be honest with you. I think obviously we're practicing right now. And so for us, it's just to build on things, right? Like obviously this year, it's hard to say, oh, let's play for playoffs, because we're kind of out of that run right now. But for us, it's just looking at what we have, what we need to get better at, and having the girls understand, like, we can't fall 3 steps backwards from where we are right now. I think they always are hungry to what they want and where they see themselves. You know, we have really in-depth conversations after every game of what we fell short on and where we need to grow from. And so right now, it's playing for our growth and where we see next year. And I'm hoping with the people we have coming in, the people that we will be returning, we'll be where we need to be. But I think it's just the word growth is huge right now.
And Coach, in conclusion, I will point out, many people know this, some may not, that you and I actually have something in common. We both have gotten married in the last 2 years, so congratulations.
Thank you, you too.
All right, well, that will wrap up our first interview segment, so we'll clear this set, and we're going to bring in a pretty successful young man from Rodeo right now. Welcome back to SportsLook, and a privilege to bring to the set of SportsLook a young man from Greyhound Rodeo, Orran Hart. Orran, welcome to the show.
Pleasure to be here.
Well, where are you from, and what was the process that got you to the rodeo squad?
Well, I'm from Minnesota, and I wasn't planning on going to college until out at National Rodeo, or at Nationals. Albert Flynn came up to me and said, I want you to come rodeo for me here at Eastern. I took a tour here, April, and fell in love with it, and I came down here to rodeo.
Well, we actually have something in common, because I'm originally from Minnesota. I'm from just south of the Twin Cities. So what part of the land of 10,000 lakes are you from?
I'm just north of Alexandria, about 30 minutes.
Okay,
Yes,
yeah, so we're both kind of southern Minnesota. You're from the western part. I was more from the eastern part. So what's the thing you miss the most about Minnesota?
When I went back, I really missed ice fishing. Got a lot of that done when I went back over winter break, but besides that, probably just the green nature.
Yep, pretty country up there in southern Minnesota. So let's talk a little bit about your association with rodeo. Have you been riding since you were old enough to get on a horse?
Yes, sir. Yep. Since about 5, I've been in rodeo, or around horses and riding and roping.
And is that run in your family, or were you just kind of the person who said, I want to give rodeo a try?
All of my brothers and sisters were in rodeo, so it's just kind of natural that I got into it too.
And at what point did you recognize, well, obviously when Coach Flynn talked to you, but on your way up to that point, at what point did you recognize that you had a skill?
Probably my junior year, I won the Minnesota State steer wrestling. I was the Minnesota State steer wrestling champion. And then my senior year, winning the all-around in the steer wrestling as well.
Was rodeo your only sport when you were in middle school and high school, or did you play other sports and rodeo at the same time?
No, sir. I grew up playing football, wrestling, and rodeo. So
What weight class did you wrestle in?
freshman year, 106, then sophomore, 113, 123, and then 145 my senior year.
That sounds like a natural progression. I actually grew up in Iowa after spending my first years in Minnesota, wrestling a huge state, huge state of Iowa, so kind of familiar with the way weight classes go up. So what year was your most successful?
My most successful year was my senior year. I was just one round outside of placing at state. So.
And Minnesota, obviously, a good state for wrestling as well.
Yes, sir.
Well, talk about your relationship with Coach Flynn. What impressed you about him?
I was just impressed with just the arena and everything. I didn't know what I was expecting when I came and toured for college rodeo. I didn't really know what to expect, and just touring around here, meeting some of the kids on the team from last year, I figured that it'd be pretty fun.
Yeah, usually there are one or two people from the returning squad that go out of the way to welcome newcomers. So who from the existing rodeo squad went out of their way to make you feel welcome?
They aren't here this year, but Ty McKenzie was the main one. Threw steers with him when I toured down here and just enjoyed it. So.
And how about on the squad this year? Who is your closest friend?
Definitely both John and Duncan Adamson. So.
And looking at the coaching change, obviously they're a little bit different in age, but maybe also different in their approaches. So talk a little bit about the difference between Coach Flynn and Coach Sharp.
John is very with us, like doing stuff with us. He'll practice with us even sometimes, and he's always there to practice with us, throw steers, whatever it is. And then Coach Albert, he's there to look at the starts for us and just on the other side of the arena, like checking out what steers we got.
Looking at the season, you have an expectation. Everybody has an expectation. Okay, every rodeo, I'm going to be one of the people that counts. But there's good competition, so I think that just makes everybody better, and obviously I think probably made you better.
Mm-hmm.
So who is the person that really motivates you on the team?
I would say just self-motivated, and if it was somebody on the team, it'd definitely be John.
There you go. In terms of getting better because it obviously involves strength, but it also involves technique. It also involves a mental approach. So if you had to say there's one thing that you're better at right now, what is your real strength in your event?
Just mentally ready to go after it.
And rodeo is unique in that you're also dependent on another creature. You've got to have a horse. And how long have you been on the horse that you're riding right now?
My horse, Diesel, I've been riding him ever since my freshman year of high school. So we have a real close connection, and I have immense trust in him that he's going to do his job and he's going to allow me to do my job.
And how did you select Diesel?
Man, he was just one of the horses that we had at our place, and he was my brother's bulldogging horse for a while, so it just kind of got handed down to me. So.
Well, sometimes that's the best way to get something is through an inheritance.
Yes, sir.
Let's talk about the rodeo that took place last weekend. It's the WT Rodeo. It was actually not held at WT. It was held in another community in Texas, and that had to be pretty cool to compete in that event.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And of course, the guys did pretty well. I believe you were team champs.
Yes, sir, we were. Yep.
And that you've probably been here long enough to know that WT, the bitter arch rivals, so if we can best them in anything, that's a pretty good day. So talk about your short go, talk about the runs that actually counted.
For steer wrestling, my long go, I was thinking about just trying to get out, get a good start on the steer. And I had seen that steer couple of times. Buddy ran him last weekend, and I knew that he was going to be strong with his head, and just he took a step to the left and kind of had a oh shoot moment, but just had to stay gritty and get to the head, and he threw his head around a little bit, but just had to stay hooked, throw him there.
And I hadn't even stopped to think about that, but that's also a third component, is that in your event, it's two animals. Your animal
Yes,
and the
sir.
animal you're trying to break down. So talk a little bit about the rodeo itself. I mean, you're not on your horse for very long, and there are periods of time in between when you compete. So what do you do between the times you're actually on your horse and competing?
The slack every morning, tend to go to that, just watch that. It gives me something to do in the morning. And then throughout the day, I just went golfing. So
There you go. Well, good for you. That's
good pastime.
I was wondering if you jammed out to music or something like that, or
No.
golfing. All right.
My main go-to is golfing or taking a nap. One of those two.
There you go. Well, Orran, let's talk a little bit about you as a student. What have you decided on what you think you're going to major in?
Yes, sir. I'm already taking electrical engineering courses. So the EET program over here. So have all my prerequisites done and I'm taking them.
Well, I can vouch for that program because my younger son got his degree at Eastern in that particular field. So I know all the professors, and we're really lucky to have the program that we do.
Yes, sir.
So what are your hopes? What do you hope to do with your degree?
Hopefully get a job, but I don't really necessarily know where I would want to work, but down here in Minnesota, just see where the wind takes me. When the time comes, I'll make that decision.
Well, I know at one time IBM was headquartered in Rochester, Minnesota, so and Honeywell in Minneapolis. So there are definite. If you wanted to work for a corporation, you could do something. Would you like corporate work, or do you imagine something smaller, or just whatever job you can get?
Whatever job that I look at, and I say, yeah, that's the one.
There you go. So what's been your favorite class here at Eastern so far?
Favorite class? I really like circuit analysis. That's been a good class with Almazzati. So
He's been one of my colleagues for a number of years, so definitely one of the things that makes Eastern so strong. So what's up next for Greyhound Rodeo?
in Levelland, Texas, we got a rodeo this weekend. So.
And if memory serves me, I think Coach Sharp has a connection to Levelland.
Yes, sir. Yep, his dad coached there for a little while.
Well, that's going to be awesome. I know that he'd like everybody to compete well at every rodeo, but I think that'd be a pretty special one for him.
Yes, sir.
Well, Orran, congratulations on the success you had last weekend, and best of luck in Levelland.
Thank you.
All right, well, that is going to wrap up our interview segment. So what we'll do is we'll clear this out, and I'll finish up with an overtime right now.
The
Major League Baseball that you see today is pretty much like Major League Baseball would have been 50 years ago, with one really big difference. Back in the 1970s, most Major League Baseball players had nicknames. I'll give you one in particular. There was a guy by the name of Mark Fidrich who pitched for the Detroit Tigers. He was really good, but he was probably best known for the fact that he had blonde, curly hair. He bore a strong resemblance to a character from Sesame Street, and so he had the nickname of the Bird. But there was already a pitcher in Major League Baseball named Doug Bird, and so his teammates gave him the nickname of the Fidrich. Well, think about that for a second. That will conclude an overtime, and that will wrap up an episode of SportsLook. I'd like to thank my guests, Amanda Fefel and Orran Hart. Had a floor crew directed by Ms. Jasmine. So for those aforementioned people, this is Doc Elder saying, so long.